Hey everyone, Eggman here with another video, and today we have a top 16 breakdown for the Carta Magica Webcam Regionals that happened literally today as of me recording this. So first, big shouts to Carta Magica for not only running the event, but also for letting me do the commentary for it. It's on their Twitch as well as it will be re-uploaded to their YouTube as well, so make sure to check that out. And also, just if you guys appreciate these videos, please consider hitting that like and subscribe button. It took a lot of work to put all these lists into DBS Deck Planet since they're all pictures, and some of the pictures are really bad. You know who you are, and it was a really, really good event. I really appreciate the opportunity for it, and yeah, it's really interesting, especially since it was like the last one for the session or for the meta that we have. We're pretty much getting set 20. Set 20 pre-release was this past weekend. We don't know if there's going to be a ban list. Honestly, it's kind of up in the air for it, but chances are like this is the last kind of big event with BT19. And it's a really weird one. It was a really weird one, honestly, looking at the leaders and topping. Obviously, we see some of the usual faces. We did see 3 Crimson, 3 Gamma, 3 Trunks and Vegeta, which hasn't been doing as well lately, but since it did win Worlds, I think a lot of people were back on it, and getting 3 tops out of this. It was a 256 player event too, with 8 rounds of Swiss with best of 1 pre-side on webcam, which is pretty interesting for that format. We also just had like a bunch of red decks do super well. We had Bulma, which did win the entire event. We had 1 Red Shenron. We had a Pan Reboot. We had Aandroidd 13, which I'm really excited to go over. SS4, Son Goku and Vegeta, Cooler, Mill, and then also 1 Boujack as well. So these are our top 16 deck list here. And this is linked in the description as well if you guys want to click on these on Eggman events as well. And I think that's all we need to go to before we start into it. It's just, there's a bunch of red decks. Like, you just pick the favorite red deck that you want. And honestly, there's just a lot of people playing the decks that they like the most anyways, and doing quite well with them too. So we're going to go over the top placing list in every leader, which is over half of them. We're going over 10 lists today. So we're going to start off with our first place list. So here is Danny Nguyen's first place. Bulma was on stream as well if you guys want to catch some of this deck in action. And honestly, when Danny plays this deck, it feels like this deck is broken. Like, it does so much. There's so much great defense. You get so much card advantage for the deck. It just feels unfair at times. Like, looking at the matches that were happening for the weekend, I just couldn't think, like, what is the way around it? Like, unless you like super tech around this matchup where you just say, okay, I can get a big board clear later in the game. It just does so much damage, and you're able to get so much advantage for really not doing anything. So Bulma just has the effect with you get to get blocked at everything. It is a 10k leader, but it also has an activate main where you just get to draw 2 cards, which is very strong. Really still taking advantage of the baby juvenile parasite. Honestly, like, it's super weird too. It doesn't feel like it's a new meta. Like, it just reminds me of like the start of the Zenkai block and or like the end of like the pre-Zenkai block. A lot of these decks were just doing stuff that were doing quite well back then. A lot of like, I don't know, older techs, which is really interesting as well. So, but this deck's really obnoxious. Key cards include the Videl Miraculous Aid. Being played as for 1, you get to draw, essentially it says draw a super combo from your drop area, which is pretty dumb. And it becomes a blocker, which is great for you there. And then you just play a bunch of your Saiyans and Earthlings because they do get blocker. Videl and Yamcha also counter plays that then also gain blocker, which is nice. And then you kind of use the deck to say, you do have 2 forms of burn. We do have the secret rare as well as the Nappa. This one has to have all red in the deck, which means that if you do side into the black cards in here, you cannot play Nappa because of the permanent for it. So you do have to be careful about that one. But really interesting build. Danny's been on this deck for a long time. Back in last summer, he was doing well with it as well and just continuing to do well with it. We'll see if any changes happen. I doubt it. I doubt any changes inherently happen to this unless he just continues like a world tour in the next couple weeks. So congrats again for Danny for winning this event with Bulma as well. Something that hasn't been popping up as much, but definitely something that he's very first in running. So next up we have Michael Legends Kerrick with this second place Crimson Goku. We've been seeing this deck a lot, and I don't know if this is a hot take. I don't really know if there's anything that needs to be banned off this guy. He's really good. I'm not going to doubt like he's not a great leader, but at the same time, like, it's not like he's unbeatable, and we've just been seeing him wane, right? I think a lot of people kind of figure out how to play against this deck a little bit more. I think the errata where you don't get to awaken until you're at 4 or less life is actually quite impactful as well. You gain a lot of advantage for it, so that's very strong. And I think the biggest thing about this deck is that it's probably the best leader with the Son Gohan secret rare. And this secret rare is like one of the best secret rares in the game right now. So that pairing alone, I think makes this deck a little bit better than average, but it's not. I don't think it's as impressive as decks that we've seen in the past. I think something probably will get hit with it if we do have a ban list with it, but honestly, I think probably this might just get leader locked to superhero leaders or something like that, because this is like one of the cards that generates a lot of advantage. But I don't know, it's strong. We've seen this deck like dozens of times. It's very good at topping. It hasn't been doing as well at winning lately, though, just at getting these tops. And we're going to see if that's going to continue, especially since we do have a new set of cards and potentially a new ban list. One more card, though, I do want to mention is this Decisive Strike. This is a pretty cool tech here. So this is from set 19. If you have a blue Z battle card in play, which is really easy when we have a blue Z battle card with Barrier and Beerus. This battle card being played as any cost 3 or less is placed at the bottom of its owner's deck instead. If all your energy is mono blue, you can activate this card's counter skill from your hand without paying its energy cost by placing one other card from your hand at the bottom of your deck. So that's actually pretty good for what it is, being able to get like this free counter. It's just kind of a little bit trickier to get that Z battle card in play, but you're almost always wanting to play Beerus anyways. It's a strong card, and it's a little bit tricky to get rid of. And most of the time if they try to get rid of it, they try to use like Black Smoke Dragon, which you can use Decisive Strike to get out of anyways. So I think it's a cool tech. I think it's strong. I think it's probably a little bit better than Desperate Measures in this deck specifically, especially since blue can, like, this Beerus is just a good card, and you can set it up pretty easily in this deck as well. So congrats to Legends for their second place finish with this deck. We'll have to see if it does anything in BT20, if there's any changes or anything like that. So next up we have Daniel Alvarez's fourth place Gamma. Gamma's been doing pretty well since release. That's no big difference with us there. It does get kind of a little bit of support in the, I don't know, it's a blue-green Android deck, and there's just a bunch of new blue-green Android cards that are coming out to support Android 21. So there could be some cross-techs for that in here, and we'll have to see if that's true. But I don't honestly have a lot to say about this deck that I haven't said for literally the last 6 or 7 months since it started topping and getting released, which is the same time period. So it's strong. It's probably going to continue to be strong. I don't think it sees, like, unless there's like something that, direct hate for this deck, which, again, the fact that it like draws 3 and like the way that it manipulates its own energy, it's not like anything on tapping or anything like that. It's kind of hard to interact with this deck compared to, I think, others. Sometimes like the power level and finishing level isn't as strong either, so that's kind of like the balance for it. But it's a really strong, consistent leader. It's probably going to continue to do well unless there's just a way to, like, the worst thing about it is that it is blue-green. So if Android 21 ends up being a really, really strong deck, it gets the added benefit of, like, you get to tap cards of your opponent's side that are the same color as the stuff that you want to play. So you get like the additional reductions for that. So that's something you might have to be careful about. That might be something that if it has like a really bad matchup for that could make it just strictly worse into the meta. But we'll have to see if that's true or not too. But nothing super. Most of the side decks honestly looked pretty similar. Meki was pretty popular for a lot of these. Blues adding extra Desperate Measures. Kami, pretty common there too. So not much more to say. Congrats to Daniel on Gamma. We'll have to see if Gamma continues doing well into set 20 as well. And then lastly, at least for like the big three for this one, we do have Joshua Ruiz's 5th place, Trunks and Vegeta. This was the finals. It was him versus Danny. Spoilers, he lost on that one. So, and then dropped all the way down to 5th, unfortunately. So sorry for those tiebreakers, buddy. But this deck's been, again, I said it earlier, it wasn't really doing a lot in the last couple weeks until it went to Worlds, and then it literally won the Worlds event, like the premier invitational Worlds event. So deck's probably okay at least, right? And I will say, like, the build that Joshua's running is completely different from the first place list. And I just talked to him and literally, like, just messaged him like, man, you've got a really old looking build for this. Like, a bunch of cards that people aren't running. I don't see the slug package as much. It is strong for what it is, but I don't see it as much as I used to. Turtle's All Too Easy I haven't, like, when he dropped him, like, people still play this card. Like, really interesting, like the 3-drop Super Saiyan Trunks altering the future Unison as well. Most people have transitioned to the Super Saiyan 2 Son Gohan, which there was in the Z deck. But he was playing the Golden Frieza in the side. He did have one there, and just a bunch of tech cards, just a bunch of random ones. But This deck is still really great, and I think part of the reason that it did so good at Worlds and can continue doing well is that you can get a lot of advantage from this deck without inherently having to attack your opponent. The fact that you get the draw for doing the EX evolve, which means that all of your 3-drops become like play and draw a card, which is strong, which they already do, so they get to draw 2 cards, and you get good cards out on the board as well. Being able to capitalize on that, I think, is strong as well, and it's been out for a year. This deck has been mostly topping. I think it's topped more events than not in the last year. So it's been waxing and waning a little bit, but it's still solid for what it is. It's a really good package. It did get new support, which some players were running today, but by and large, I think it's a good deck, and we'll have to see if it goes anywhere. I don't think it will. I think it will still be somewhat good unless any, again, ban list changes happen again. So those are the big 3, and then we kind of go into a smattering of just red decks and a Boujack list. So to start us off, we do have Caban's 6th place Red Sin. Obviously, this leader has pretty much dropped off before this. I haven't seen it top in a really long time. It did get a restriction to it. We did have the Shenron 2-drop get out, so no more double straight crit with this deck on turn 2, which is probably a good change in a lot of ways. But without that early pressure, a lot of people just decided to not play this deck anymore, including myself. But man, it's still a really great deck for getting a lot of advantage and as well as getting a lot of pressure on your opponent. So really good at doing that. It has the addition of Sankaba in the deck too, which does let you do a 15k double strike as well, so that early pressure is really good there. A lot of times when I play this deck too is that I just have like a lot of cards in my life, because you don't really care about your life total in this deck by and large either. Being able to use Sankaba to get like a draw 1 and get closer to lower life is great. Getting that self-awakening, as well as like the Z leader for this deck is actually really great too. So if you have a way to get down to 3 or less life pretty easily, that's super solid for you there as well. We are running one of the Surmounting the Impossible too. Honestly, Rush Attack Vegeta is still just a broken card in this deck. It just makes this card look really good, because you're so like the activate main is so easy in this deck with all the cracked balls that you get into your Z energy. It makes it super easy. So everything else pretty standard there. I do the Legic's a really interesting addition. If you have no battle cards, your opponent does, you get to play it for free, which is just like a free 15k attack, I guess. So not too bad. And also the Super Saiyan 3 Son Goku one-hit wonder as well. Using the red-yellow package and then just really digging into it on the sideboard. And so I'd be interested to see why they decided to, what matchups kind of let you go into this red-yellow package, because there's a lot of it. And Sin is restricted. You have to have red battle cards, but not mono red battle cards, which is why all these guys are red-yellow, and you couldn't just have like a yellow to help. Like a Saiyan Instincts would probably be put in this deck if you could, just for more yellow and to get your effects off. So anyways, that is the deck. Congrats to Caban on their finish there. It's cool to see Red Sin still getting the top every once in a while, and apparently it did pretty well in Europe as well this weekend. I'll see if I can get those deck lists, and we'll go from there. But again, congrats to Caban for their 6th place finish. Next up we have, let's see, Antonio with their 7th place Reboot Pan here. And we've been seeing Reboot Pan usually get like 1 top per event, usually no more, and maybe just like every other, but it's a strong leader. I know a lot of people like to use it right now. A lot of people are using the old leader for far too long, so people are going to be using this leader for far too long. But just the idea that this can get like 2 draws, a draw on your turn, drawing your opponent's turn with its effect is pretty great for what it is. And just the fact that it's a red Saiyan means it does get a lot of inherent support on a lot of cards. And the archetype it runs itself is not too bad. So I think right now there are probably more consistent, better red Saiyan lists, but I think this is a really good one as well. If you like the leader and you like the play style, you can definitely do well with it if you are able to see your pieces. And if there's just any additional support printed that supports these red Saiyans, Pan is definitely one that you can always come back to and look and see if that gets the support for it. So not anything honestly too crazy in this deck. This is pretty much the builds that I've been seeing. The Son Goku, Vegeta, and Trunks triple combination is a pretty strong card that you can use with the choose one red Saiyan and place this on top. So the one like cheeky combo I know is that you can put it on top of this and you get the plus 21k. So this becomes a 41k, which is kind of nice. But being able to play this for 1 on top of something is still pretty good as well. You also, I'm pretty sure you can get like the Bond 3 and get the plus 11k on this guy too. It's just a red Saiyan. So if you're able to get the effect here, you can get the boost here, but make this 31 as well. I believe no. This is Bond. This is an activate main. You can't do that. Don't listen to me. I'm crazy here. So I do like the addition of also Aandroidd 20 inherited evil though. So if your leader's ready, you have a Z leader or you have 2 or more Z energy, which 2 or more Z energy in this card in this deck is really easy because of all of the free comboing you get to do. It's very strong there. So you don't like go down to 4 life very easily in this deck either. So I think that's strong also. That's probably all I have to say about this one. Unison's probably worth running right now because we're kind of a little bit slower, and all the advantage it gets is pretty strong there too. Next up, the deck that probably a lot of people are interested in, and this is a lot of fun when I was doing the commentary, kind of figuring out how this deck worked and all of the neat little combos with it. This is honestly like the first time I had ever seen anyone play the deck in an official capacity, and seeing it do so well and getting this top 16 is a really big hit. So this is Alexander Lawrence's 9th place Aandroidd 13. And let's kind of go over the list here. So how do I say it? Like you have your 1-drops and your 3-drops. 1-drops essentially look for each other, and then the 3-drops are saying they have this like really unique effect. It's activate main or battle. For 1, if your leader is a red Aandroidd 13 and you have 2 more energy and a red Aandroidd 15 in your Z energy, your opponent may choose 2 of their battle cards and have them get minus 20k power for the turn. If they don't, you get to draw a card and play this card from your hand. So for 1, being able to play a 15k blocker and draw a card is quite nice. And sometimes they don't have 2 battle cards. It doesn't say choose up to. So if they don't have 2 battle cards, if they have 2 and 1 has barrier, they can't choose that card. So you can still play this. Pretty similar with Aandroidd 15 too. Just kind of the offensive one. So 14 is a little bit better. And you do have to set up your Z energy, but you do also have these dual ones, which is a promo. And it just has the dual attack for 1. If you have 2 or more, it's the same thing. You can play this from your hand and get a dual attack 15k deflect. So really interesting kind of effect you get with that. And the other kind of combo you get to do with this deck goes into the big 7-drop. So it has... Let's see. So the big thing about this is that you get this dual attack if you have an Aandroidd 13 underneath it. And however, this is not... It's a really weird timing. So what you can do is that you can use the Aandroidd 13 Uninvited Guest, which you can play for free off of your Gogeta. So for 0 energy, you play this card, use the effect to get to look top 5 for an Aandroidd card, and it costs 3 or less. Then you use the effect there for 1, get the 13, 14, and 15 from your drop area, which is pretty easy. You get to get a Aandroidd 17, and then you cost a 7 on top of your deck, from your deck on top of this in active mode. So you choose this. You can also choose this guy as well. If your leader's 13 and you have 3 Aandroids, place them bottom of your deck in any order, which is pretty easy. And it's from your drop area, so like you can recycle cards that you need back into your deck. Choose one of your opponent's battle cards and rest mode KO, then your opponent chooses 2 cards in their hand and place in their drop. So the hand destruction is great and it's a big body, but the better one is this Aandroidd 13 Total Annihilator. So again, you'll have 3 sources underneath there. You have the 13, 14, 15, and then it has double strike, and it'll have dual attack as long as you have a Aandroidd 13 underneath it. So you can attack with it, and then it has this auto. When this card attacks, use up to 1 card from underneath this card in a combo with its skills negated for the turn, and choose up to 1 of your opponent's battle cards, and your unison gets minus 25k power for the turn. This is not once per turn, but what you can do is you can attack, use the effect for Aandroidd 13 Uninvited Guest, from underneath it. So you attack, and even though it doesn't have dual attack anymore, it will still resolve, so you get to restand it. And then we do have the Aandroidd 13 here, Villainous Threat. You get the activate main limit 1. You get to put it underneath a red, just any red Aandroid, so you put it back underneath it. It has a new proc of dual attack, which means you can attack and it will get the restand again, and also return up to 1 red Aandroidd card with energy cost of 1 from your drop area to your hand as well. So all of these effects are great. Being able to again get like another swing. This gets 3 procs of minus 25k, and it's a 30k double strike with essentially triple attack, which is really nice and puts a lot of pressure on your opponent. So that's really good. That's a lot of good pressure on your opponent for not a lot of energy, especially if you already have the Gogeta, which you're probably running anyways because it's strong there as well. There's probably other combos for it. That is just my brief little overlook for it. There was some discussion if this was a legal play. I'm like 99% sure it is. If that changes, I'll let you guys know, but I'm pretty sure that's legal for what we're doing there. And it's a really cool deck, and I'm really surprised that it's literally taken like till the end of the format, like the last event, but being able to not only play this and do well, but get your invite for the nationals in next year is really cool for it there. And I really always like to see like when decks do well, surprisingly, and we'll have to see if This is really just an uncovered gem for this next meta, and see if we can keep playing it. It'd be really cool. So congrats again to Alexander for their finish there. We got 3 more deck lists. We have, I'm going to say this wrong, and I've said this wrong before, but Faysal's top 12, so 12th place, Super Saiyan 4, Goku, and Vegeta. And he did also place top 32 in our North American finals. I'm pretty sure he's playing SS4 as well. He can correct me as well as correct me how to say his name properly. Again, apologies there. But this deck has been doing well. We did only get 1 finish on our finals here today for our top 16 for the regionals, but it's great. Obviously, it had to get some erratas. We did have to, like, the fact that this card had to this card had to get eroded to fix this card because they wanted this card to work for the deck is probably a good thing. And for the record, like, if this card can enable Aandroidd 13, there's a chance that it's a pretty good card for what it does as red as in general. Just the fact that it gets to play stuff for free, and the fact that you get to look top 3 from your deck is pretty silly. The fact that it's not like limited to like Saiyans either, so you can play your Androids, is kind of silly too. But I digress there. I honestly don't have a lot to say about this deck. It's been doing well since release, which is about, 6 months ago. It got some erratas, so it's doing a little bit less consistent, and it's not as great on the defense side, but it's still getting a lot of advantage. I'll play this against this deck, and I'll see my opponent, casually has, 15 cards in their hand by, turn 2. I'm like, what am I doing? It just draws so much, which means you're so consistent. And whenever I try to go for game, they always have 4 Raditz. They always have 4 Raditz to combo out of my stuff, and I'm, barely getting, 2 super combos. I'm like, what am I doing with this? So it's a really great deck. It's hard to get around all the advantage it gets sometimes, and it's still doing well. So congrats to Faysal for their finish there. And then also another name I'm probably going to get wrong, but Biriarr with their Cooler Mill, a favorite on some players' list. Just a deck that just keeps coming back every once in a while and doing a couple things. It did get a little bit of support in the expansion set, again 4 or 5 months ago, with this chilled ruling through fear. No, this is 2022. Dang, we're in 2023 already. Dang. But if red, blue multicolors in your energy, you get to combo with this for free. And when this is played, look at top 5 cards of your deck, add up to 1 red or blue freezer can, any energy cost of 5 or less among them to your hand, shuffle your deck, then choose up to 1 of your opponent's battle cards, ignoring barrier. It gets minus 15k for the turn. So the clan cards can include, can he get himself? Yeah, you can get another copy of himself. You can get the the cooler, which is obviously very good, and also the full power freeze it. So being able to get that minus 15k around barrier, and honestly, this deck is great at removing a lot of cards with barrier. If you're playing against early Trunks and Vegeta, you can just play this and get rid of both their 1-drops if you need to. If you're playing against Agents of Destruction, you get rid of Bobbity really easily. This deck is really strong at getting rid of that too. They did get also this promo, which is just okay for 3, 1 red, 1 blue, and a colorless. It gets triple strike, and when this card is played or attacks, your opponent places the top card of their deck in their drop area, then choose up to 1 of your opponent's battle cards. It gets minus 25k power for the turn. So at the end of your turn, you may return this card to its owner's hand. If you do, switch 1 of your red or blue energy to active mode. So being able to get play this for 2, but you don't get to keep it on the board, but you get the effects from it, and the auto is not once per turn, so you get the effect for playing it, and then when it attacks, you get the effect, which is good for that there. You just get a lot of milling, and I'd have to confirm if this deck was mill out was the strategy a lot of the time. The 5-drop freeze, it does obviously help that too, especially without counterplay Trunks in the meta. This card's still good again, so being able to just drop this without having to worry about it is pretty great too. What else we got? Radiant Saiyans as our secret rare. It's just honestly the fact that it's a red-blue free combo, I think, is worth it in its own right. And I think so. And also the Sun Gohan facing the Android Terror. This is not one of the better Gohan rares, at least uniquely, but being able to play this for 1, and then when this card's placed, choose a total of 7 of your opponent's battle cards and or unisons to get minus 10k power for the turn. If you chose 5 or more with the skill, it gets plus 10k power and double strike. So this is really good at proccing your leader, getting a lot of mills, and this could potentially just mill out your opponent. It is a limit 1, so you can't just drop 2, but that it could be something that's strong. It's activate main art battle too, which is kind of neat. So I think that's all I gotta say about this deck. It's cool to see that it's still kicking. How old is this card? This is Infinite Unison, so a while ago. This was 2 metas ago, right? This is set 8. I think this is set 8. and it's either set 8 or set 9, and we're literally on set 20. So like half the game ago, this leader came out. So really interesting to still see it doing well. And to finish it off, we do have Boujack. Boujack got a lot of support in the promo packs, promo dash packs that we got back in January. And I think it's enough for people to go back and say, yeah, I want to try Boujack. I think it's cool. And I like what it does. It does a lot of cool things. And honestly, the only thing that's wrong with it is that you are really, really restricted by the luck of what you get into your energy, because it is a top deck. And unlike Gamma, it's a lot harder for you to fix the energy for what it does. Like Gamma just gets like free ways, especially if you get like a 17 or 18 from your energy. You play it for 1, and then you get to fix it afterwards too, which is really good. And then obviously at the end of your turn, you just pick up 3 cards in your energy and put them back. Bojack's just like, just combo, and I hope you get lucky. Like, oh, you comboed into a Boo Unison? All right, well, that stinks. Well, hopefully you have a Zeno or Galactic Buster to help you fix through some stuff. But like if you hit good with this deck, if you see all your Zangias, you get all your cycles, then you're feeling great. You feel like this is the best deck in the world. And so you do have to be careful about just the consistency of that, which really stinks at times. I think the only new cards you really run are the Bojack Space Pirate Captain. It does have this nice auto of limit 1 where your opponent attacks, use 1 mono blue Bojack Brigade in your energy in a combo. If you do, add the top card of your deck to your energy, which can get like an untap, which is quite nice. It doesn't have any protection, so if they have a way to get rid of it before they are attacked, there's that. Then also, you get to play this from your drop for an auto, and it's a double striker. But also the Zangia, the Beautiful Slayer, is pretty good at what it does too. If your leader is a Bojack Brigade, all your energy is blue when this card's played. Place 1 blue Bojack Brigade from your hand or your energy in rest mode. I wish this one actually got the top deck, because it stinks that you have to go like -1 for it, especially in a deck that doesn't draw a lot and usually has a small hand size, but it's fine for that. And then also you can KO this card when you play a blue Bojack card. That card gains barrier until the end of your opponent's turn, which with the timing with it means that if they try to do like a counterplay with an auto, you can give it barrier after the fact and kind of play around it, which is nice. So obviously being able to give some protection to your big 8-drop dual attack double striker is really nice, and you get to get it until the end of your next turn. End of your opponent's next turn, which I always get confused with this timing. I don't know if you play this on your opponent's turn, you give it barrier. If you get to keep it until their next turn, I think it's their next turn. I wouldn't be surprised if that's what they wanted, but maybe that's not how that's ruled. So I don't know. I don't play Bojack enough anymore, which is a real shame, because I really did like this deck a lot. So anyways, I think that's it for me. We talked a lot about all this. This video is almost 30 minutes. My goodness, I need to get out of here. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. I really do appreciate it. Again, thank you so much to Carta for running the event and letting me do the live stream for it. Make sure to check out the VODs for some matches, and that will be it for me. So again, thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it, and I'll catch you all next time.